Mr. Toastmaster, and everyone in the room who has parents. When he was 86 years old, my father had a massive stroke while caring for my mother, who had early Alzheimer's. In an instant, my world changed forever. I quit my job and moved back to Texas after 30 years. An only child and former actor, I had a new role for which I had never auditioned. Mine was not a planned parenthood. My father could not walk, talk, and had to relieve himself through a catheter, which he hated and ripped out. It was horrendous. I remember standing by his bed, looking down as he struggled to get out 3 words. He said, "Get me pills." He wanted me to help him commit suicide. I yelled, "Dad, I can't do that. I'll go to jail." No, not hell, jail. Well, maybe hell too, I don't know. A doctor suggested a prostate operation that might restore his bodily functions. And it worked. Within 2 weeks, my father could go to the bathroom unassisted. And he decided that he wanted to live. Within 6 months, he had a complete recovery, and he was telling me how to drive again. Now, my mother, with her Alzheimer's, was more difficult. She kept asking me to go to Smithville to see her sister. Now, that seems like a logical request, doesn't it? Except for one small fact. Her sister had been dead for 8 years, and I was foolish enough to tell my mother that. She had to relive that entire death. Tears came down her cheeks. She sobbed for what seemed like hours. I knew I'd made a terrible mistake, but I didn't know what I'd done. So I went to an Alzheimer's expert, and I told her, "I can't do this." She said, "Honey, you don't have much choice, do you?" She was right. Well, I said, "What do I do?" She said, "Now listen to me. Quit trying to drag your mother into your world. She can't go there anymore. Instead, you must go into her world. Go into her world." I started doing that immediately. And it changed everything. When she wanted to go to Smithville to see her sister, I said, "Sure, let's go next week." She couldn't have been happier, smiled, and promptly forgot it. Next week never came. And I learned never to correct my mother. Because, you see, there were certain things she remembered with crystal clarity. For example, the fact that I am infamous for running out of gas. So every time I went to see her, the first words out of her mouth were, "Jim, how are you fixed for gas? Now don't you lie to your mama." And there was only one acceptable answer: full tank. Once she got that subject in her mind, she might ask that same question 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times in one visit. And I answered it without comment 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. I learned that repetition is not a character defect. I found that dignity comes in many shapes, including bent and wrinkled and walker assisted. I learned that patience is the currency of love. When faced with a choice between being right, which we all love, and being kind, which is more difficult, I tried to opt for kind. My mother loved to tell people, you know how much I paid in the hospital when Jim was born? $4 a day. And he's been worth every penny of it. I have spent the last 14 years trying to live up to her investment. My mother lived to be 97 and a half. The last year, she lost speech, but not the twinkle in her eye. She didn't know me, but she liked me. And when I could get her to smile, it was worth all the Oscars I never won. Parenting my parents was the best decision of my life, and the first truly unselfish one. It was not a burden, but a calling. And I am so grateful that I answered the call. Mr. Toastmaster.